Good morning and welcome to the Forex Daily Update, brought to you by Pepperstone on Tuesday the 21st of May 2019. I'm Darren Sinden and you can follow me throughout the day on Twitter by using @DS_Pepperstone. Okay, let's kick off with a look at the overnight changes and price moves to be aware of. Very little movement in the euro or the British pound against the US dollar overnight. Marginal falls there for the European currencies, but that's about the best we can say. But there were bigger moves afoot in Asia, with the Australian dollar down by 0.35% against the US dollar overnight and dragging the Kiwi lower by 0.29%, reversing some of yesterday's gains that followed the news of the Australian election results. And we'll look at the reasons behind those falls a little bit later on in the video. The Japanese yen was also on the back foot, down by 0.13% against the US dollar in the Asian session, trading at 110.19 shortly before we recorded the video. 110, of course, quite a key psychological number as far as dollar yen traders are concerned. The Chinese Yuan was moving in the opposite direction to the yen, however, against the US dollar, up by 0.14% against the US currency. Perhaps that's due to a slight easing of tensions between the US and China with the latest dispute with Huawei and its access to US markets. Elsewhere, the US dollar was gaining against the other major safe haven currency. Get my teeth in this morning with Swiss franc, which was down by 0.15% against the US currency. Dollar index for its part, largely unchanged, up by 0.07%, but pretty much static over the last 24 hours there. Okay then, what's on the calendar? Events that may move the markets today. Well, we've got a pretty packed calendar, although it's a little bit light, to truth to be told, on high impact data. Nonetheless, we've already had the release of the Reserve Bank of Australia May meeting minutes and a statement from the bank's head, Governor Philip Lowe. And we'll look at that in a bit more detail later on in the video. To come at 10 a.m. GMT, we'll have the release of CBI Industrial Trends Survey data with a focus on orders for the month of May. That's out of the UK. And at 12:55, we find ourselves in the States for the release of Red Book Index data for the week of May 17th. This is an index that tracks the performance of chain store sales across the USA. At 1400, we'll see the release of existing home sales and home sales change data for the month of April out of the US. And then at 1400, we'll have the sole data point out of Europe today of any consequence, and that is Eurozone consumer confidence for the month of May. At 14:45, we'll have the second of the day's central bank speeches, this from Fed member Evans. At 15:30, there's a 52-week bill auction out of the USA. And then at 1600, the second of the day's Fed speakers in the shape of Fed member Rosengreen. We pause then until 21:30 for the release of private sector API weekly crude oil stocks for the week of May 17th. And then we jump over the Pacific to New Zealand for retail sales out of the country for the first quarter, both exclusive and inclusive of automobiles. At 23:50 then, to round off proceedings, we'll have the release of balance of trade data out of Japan for the month of April, but that will also be accompanied by machinery orders data for the month of March. Okay then, breaking news and comment that's caught my eye overnight. And first of all, the RBA minutes and statement have raised the chances of an Aussie rate cut in June, thanks to a slowing economy and weaker inflation in the country. Those were the main points from Philip Lowe's comments. Thai Q1 29 GDP fell to just 2.8% of growth, its lowest level for 4 years, and well below the Q4 2018 print of 3.6%, and market forecast for the Q1 data of a print of 3%. Slowing private and public sector investment looks to be behind the fall in Thai GDP. Theresa May faces a Brexit showdown today, as a YouGov opinion poll shows that only 27% of the Tory membership back her existing Brexit deal. Meanwhile, Chancellor Philip Hammond has said that backing a no-deal Brexit is the equivalent of sabotaging the UK economy. Right then, food for thought and something to take away with you into the trading day and beyond, and why not think about this? What I've drawn here is a month-to-date relative performance table of a variety of asset classes, and I thought it'd be quite instructive to look at the month-to-date performance because we get a picture in the round, if you will, a holistic view of how the markets have been performing. My own thoughts here are that we have seen some signs of risk-off to date in May. For example, we've seen the VIX elevated up by 7.75% over the course of the month. We've seen the US 30-year bond add 1.27%, and we've seen the Japanese yen, a noted safe haven currency, up by almost 1% over the course of May so far. It's also been a very poor month for equities, which is also indicative of risk-off behaviour, isn't it? The DAX is down by 2.15%, the Euro Stoxx 50 off by 2.3%. We've got the S&P 500 down by around 3.4%, the Dow Jones off by just over 3.06%, and so on and so on. The Russell 2000 down by 3.89. You get the picture. So poor performance in equities, hints of risk off away from equity markets, and that might not really have sort of tied in with your intuitive view of what May has brought so far today. And the other thing that perhaps surprised me the most was that WTI crude is actually down on the month as of the close last night. So food for thought there, and something to consider across the rest of the trading week. Okay, it's risk warning time. Please do take the time to read this risk warning, because trading CFDs and foreign exchange on margin can be a risky business. If you're in any doubt about those risks or the suitability of leveraged products for you, then please do contact your Pepperstone account representative. And as I say, do take the time to read this risk warning thoroughly. Thank you for your time today.